I'm here with Fabiano Caruana, who just drew his game against Abdusattorov. Fabi, it looked like when you came out of the room, everything seemed normal and normal draw, but then someone pointed out e5. We'll get to that in a second, but just your emotions right now when you just found out that maybe there was a little chance somewhere.
Yeah, I don't know why I didn't play e5. The whole game was very balanced. The opening was dry. It was extremely dry, and I really wasn't expecting to get anything of it. But then I had this small chance. Maybe it was a big chance after e5.
We'll get to that in a sec. I just very briefly, before we get to the moment with e5, wanted to ask you about playing c3 on move 3, which clearly was a surprise. But Nordjebek, after a quick thought, played a5, which is very rare. But I overheard you guys say maybe it's the best response.
Well, every move equalizes for black here pretty much. Black has like c6 is a good move, bishop f5, c5, e6. I wasn't sure what he would choose. a5 was not near the top of the list for sure, but I knew the move existed. I think Wijk has played it a couple of times, and it's a good move. He also knew something about the line. He played h6 to avoid knight h4 ideas, which, for example, I think if e6, maybe I can consider knight h4. I don't know. But h6 is kind of a bit of a subtlety, and I didn't see any way to exploit this slight development advantage I have. So we got this quite dry position.
I just wanted to ask you, you were not the only player to play an early c3 today. Fadoseyev did so on move 2. I guess you guys didn't prepare together.
No. I actually realized that if I want the line, I could even play it on move 1.
Yeah.
And we might still get it, but Black gets some extra options. But yeah, we had a similar kind of approach. He got a more interesting fight, clearly. But okay, yeah, there was this one moment. So, he played... he allowed e4 by playing rook d7, but it's probably not bad to allow e4 because now d4 becomes weak. But here he should, I guess, be a bit careful. And then after rook d8, I don't know why I don't... probably what I was looking at was I guess this is all pretty forced, was that Black has knight d4, but then I saw the engine was showing this move bishop e4. And if rook a8, then rook b4 is very annoying for Black because c6 falls. So he probably abandons the c6 pawn, maybe gets e5, I'm not sure, maybe something like this. I guess the king goes to h2, rook a5, bishop c6. But my a pawn is very dangerous. I wouldn't be shocked if it's even winning for white. It's also a free roll, so obviously if I'd seen this, I would have just played it.
Of course. Do you think it was a spot of mutual blindness? Because clearly he didn't see it either, otherwise he wouldn't have played rook d8, right?
Well, he played rook d8 quickly, so perhaps a little bit carelessly, or maybe he had seen up to this point. Maybe he missed rook b4. I can't even remember what I missed, but maybe it was also that I have bishop b4 here, which is probably the only move to press. But of course, it goes without saying that the most critical and direct move should be calculated because bishop d3 is probably not going to lead to much, and e5 could, so this was quite careless on my part. And then after queen g5, it's completely level. He played king g7, offered a draw. It's still possible to play bishop f1, but basically I'm not winning b7 without dropping d4 or a4. Well, there's a lot of mutual weaknesses, so it basically felt like a draw at this point.
Did it feel like, did you feel some pressure going into this matchup, seeing as you're 1 point behind Nordjebek? Do you feel that pressure to catch up to the leaders?
I didn't feel too much pressure before the game, but there's of course always, I'm trying to catch up and I'm playing one of the leaders, so yeah, it was a game that I was hoping to be ambitious. The opening didn't quite go, let's say, the best way for that, but yeah, it's disappointing that I still had a chance, and I don't know if of course I can't say that I would have necessarily won or even had good chances to win after that, but definitely I would have pressed, and that would have been good.
I have one more question about the opening. You said, there are so many ways Black can equalize there. So can you talk about some of the ideas? What is the idea behind playing this early c3? It's
basically very often trying to get a London, but limiting some of Black's options of e6, and you go for a London where Black has committed to e6. Otherwise, Ding played this in the World Championship against some Hamnishi. Jan played c5, and then after d takes c5, it gets quite sharp because white tries to hold on to the pawn. So there's a lot of theory connected to that. It's just kind of independent. Like sometimes it transposes to London, but maybe not the line that your opponent wants necessarily. That's the hope at least, or it leads to very original positions, or this.
Very interesting. I also want to ask you, a couple of days ago you played the longest game in the Masters against Vincent Keymer. If you could just maybe quickly talk us through the final moments of that, how you managed to get the win in that big fight.
Yeah, I think actually I discussed it with Vincent and with Peter Lako after the game. Because of course around this moment, it was extremely interesting when he played bishop e3, when maybe Peter was suggesting that he could have taken and played this kind of position. Mm-hmm. Bishop g1, a quite nice consolidating move, and that white's a bit better. But we both kind of went straight for what felt like the most natural and critical line. Okay, he made a move which it turned out to be a bit of a mistake, but it wasn't obvious over the board. And when I was playing bishop g4, I thought this was the most natural move in f5, and then we get this kind of chaos where he always has knight e6, but, well, first of all, there's very often knight g3, which is nice, but also there's like queen d5. And so he took the pawn, and then he made a losing move here. What he had missed here is that my rook is pinned, so I can't take on f1. And actually, I was looking at something like this.
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Bishop e2, let's say knight f7, knight e3, and missed rook c1. So, which wins. So then I would have to probably settle for a draw after knight e6 with knight takes e3, and a lot of pieces get traded. And then he had seen this idea that the queen goes to f8, which I didn't see. He wanted to play queen b3, after which it's still very difficult to win. But I did spoil the advantage by playing queen e7, and then I found this very nice resource, which leads to a pleasant endgame. And then also bishop d7 I was quite proud of, because my bishop pair with his king on h1, it's very tactically dangerous for him. And the final mistake for him was rook to f4. I mean, it was a kind of strange moment because we both saw partially what the position was about. I saw that after rook f2, rook e7, he can play, for example, bishop d2, and after taking, I can't attack his rook, so I don't get to win his bishop on e1. But I was counting on bishop c3, and he saw rook c2, which saves the game. Yeah. Otherwise, bishop c3 wins. And so he more or less saw everything, but I guess in time trouble still came up with the wrong move. And I had seen that this was very dangerous because rook e7, and then here, at first I wasn't sure bishop g5 or bishop e5. It's good I chose the right one in the end, but I saw that this one was winning. And now that's the problem with this rook on f4, that if he goes back, now suddenly there's this deadly pin. And if he takes here, I can just play bishop c6, winning the knight directly. All these pins are... So he went to the clearly losing endgame. I don't know why I didn't play rook c4, because the 40th move, I saw the move, and then I thought, okay, king f7. Then I had to win all over again, but...
Took a little longer,
it took a while, but the
job done.
The ending was nice. I mean, I was always confident that
let's show the final moment, actually.
Oh, well, yeah, after f3 he resigned, king takes d1, f2. This is typical, the king can't catch both pawns, and I make a queen.
How does it still feel, you've achieved so much in chess, does it still feel special to play a move like this?
Well, not this one. This is a kind of a simple tactic. It's very nice, of course. It's you don't usually see two pawns dominating like this, but it's not the most uncommon theme, let's say.
That's true. With that win and the draw today, you're now on 5 out of 9. How do you reflect? We haven't talked in a week, I think. So in the middle of the tournament, those games, how do you reflect on them?
Okay, not great overall. I played one really poor game. Against Fedoseev, I just shouldn't have lost it. It was, he played a rather unambitious opening, and then it was an equal position, and I slowly lost it due mostly to a blunder, but also not very good play throughout. Besides that, I think before this game I didn't have so many chances. I took the 2 chances I had, and there were a lot of very dry games, which maybe maybe it was my fault by playing the Berlin, but I couldn't have expected that I would get like two of the most sterile Berlin variations, and yeah, I just didn't get, like, I ran into preparation against Anish, so I didn't get so many chances. The only game that I can really regret before today was the game against Fedoseev. Otherwise, I would be on +2 if I had drawn that game, and okay, looking pretty good. But yeah, today missing a bit of a chance as well was also disappointing.
You're playing 3 Indians next: Hare Krishna, Prague, and then Mendonça, and finally Varmadam in the final round. Except for Prague, most of these are not some of the top seeds. Do you think of, the tournament situation and like, okay, if I get a winning streak going, I'm still in contention, or do you just take it game by game?
I think it's not entirely in my hands, because also, let's say even if I score a few wins, then the other leaders can also score a few wins. But it's not a hopeless situation. So if I get chances, hopefully I'll take some. It doesn't always happen. I mean, just because they're not the highest rated in the tournament, I mean, they're still all very strong grandmasters. And Pentala is having a good tournament. I don't think any of the games will be easy. Also, I am playing one of the leaders, so that's a bit of a hope that maybe I can try to push against him. It's kind of similar to this game against Noterbeck, that playing against one of the leaders, I have my fate more in my hands. But yeah, it's of course not, 1 point deficit, trailing 3 different people, and I don't know, maybe depending on the results, even worse than that.
Have you looked at their games, Gukesh and Prague?
Gukesh, I wasn't sure. I didn't think that Gukesh's position was so... Actually, it's interesting. Could we check it? Because it was very complicated. I mean, he played an ambitious opening, but I wasn't sure that he's better, because... Actually, I would more assume that maybe Black is doing very well here. I mean, it just looks like e4 is weak, the bishop on e1 is bad. Of course, they're both low on time. And in a time scramble, perhaps Gukesh will have the better chances, but positionally, I do...
can keep his nerve and keep the time as well, yeah.
It's very solid for Black. You can't really do anything with White, because e4 is so weak. Okay, e5 is also weak, so it's hard to do something with Black. I would be tempted to get the rook away from a8, which kind of allows rook a7, but maybe rook a8, rook a7, rook c7, because I just don't want to...
Just show it very quickly. So.
Yeah, maybe, rook a8 feels natural, it also threatens bishop d7. Actually, rook a7, there is bishop d7 as well, which is...
So you'd want to block like this, maybe?
Yeah, I don't know, because then White moves the bishop, and probably I just pinned myself for no reason. But there's rook c7, which forces a trade of rooks, I guess. And I'm happy with this trade. Now I get the a file again, so... I would be mildly ambitious with Black here.
Very interesting. We'll see how that one pans out. Will you follow the games when you get back to the room?
Yeah, for sure. I will. It's interesting, and now we're heading for a time travel phase, so it's going to be even more interesting. I'm kind of curious. It's also Pentala's game is a mess, but my instinct was that this is not good for Black. But on the other hand, White can't get at the Black king, and knight f5 is a threat, and if king f3, there's queen d2. So...
What would your prediction be right now, if it's to make one?
I actually I start to like Pentala's position. Maybe I can also play rook 1 c2. But yeah, actually, I do like Black's position. Maybe I was a bit surprised, but this king on e8, you just can't get at it, no matter how you try. And knight f5. Well, knight f5 you actually might not want to do, because then after the king moves, there's queen takes d8 checkmate ideas. But what White's move is also...
Let's just show that very quickly.
Well, this would lose because of this checkmate. But the Black just keeps the knight on e7, plays queen d2, and tries to slowly collect pawns. And then what is White doing? White can also collect pawns, queen a7, but then maybe knight f5, and then you're really exposing your king.
Yeah, the White king looks very, very lonely.
Yeah, there are a lot of potential mating threats. Here, I think already knight h4 is basically just a mating threat. So some generic move, maybe, and this is checkmate. So maybe here it's already White has to start running back, and you don't want to do that. So maybe what White wants to do is wait for knight f5, then put the king on f3. You don't care about the d4 pawn, like some move like a5, for example. Knight f5, king f3. Now there's a mate threat, and the king runs, and again there's a queen d8, which is checkmate. But there's knight b5, but probably allows queen c6. Like you.
So you have to be very careful about knight f5, right? Is what you're saying.
I mean, once the position opens, then White just wins because the rooks will dominate. So yeah, actually after a5, I'm not sure.
Another interesting time, I don't know about time scramble because we're on move 32, but the position is complex enough that they might get
for sure
very low, right?
But yeah, I'm wondering what Black is doing here, because if you could get your king to g7 somehow, of course, then you're great. But without that, if you can't find a move here, I don't know. You don't want to move your h1. This is the game after queen a3. Basically, Black has to keep the checks up. But knight f5, I mean, king d3, there's another check on b5, but it feels winning for White now. Yeah, like here and king d2, I don't know. So rook c8, queen f8 comes. And yeah, so after a5, it was indeed probably winning, and yeah, this feels wrong. Like rook b7, a6, rook d7 can't be the way. And queen a3, if he has to trade queens, just I think game over. Queen b5, I would even suspect that rook c8 might just win, but this, I mean, you collect a bunch of pawns, but I'm not 100% sure about this.
If I block the check there.
Sorry. Yeah, you have queen e8 and king c8, yeah, and still probably winning for White because you pick up a7. Well, you could block here. Actually, this is probably a draw. So yeah, but White certainly doesn't have to sack the rook. Probably just a number of moves win, including maybe rook c7 or king f3.
Yeah, I guess we'll talk to Fedoseev maybe later on if he can convert it. But
oh wait, no, actually, that's just the queen. The queen's gone.
That's just over.
That's just the queen's gone. Okay, so after queen a3, I suspect it's winning for White. Yeah. Like completely winning.
Yeah, actually, that really was quite different, a c3 variation compared to, or it panned out very differently. But Fabi, thank you so much for all your time, for sharing your thoughts on your own games, on the other games, and best of luck for the remaining games.
Thank you.